My art style is something that I realize has a lot more success than I think it does. I mean, don't get me wrong, I am proud of this success, but I feel like I never really responded to that success in a way that I feel like I should have. So why am I talking about this? Well, after I drew a few new art pieces between different groups, I sent this to BellaThePinkSavage a few days ago, and we had a bit of a conversation where we basically talked about my confidence issues in my content. And, well, I'm honestly struggling to find a decent response on how to thank Bella for that. Bella, you are seriously too sweet, kind, smart, and considerate. Thank you so much for being the first step to helping me get out of that mindset. You amazingly savage best friend. Okay, now that I got that out of my system, let's get back on track, shall we? So, my art has constantly been compared to a combination of minimalist and rubber hose, or maybe even some kind of third style. Now, on some level, yes, I knew this style was different, but what really got me to notice was when people started noticing that. In particular, Brittney Ackermen's comment here. Now, admittedly, she is not the first one who pointed this out. A wide variety of others in my social circle also noticed this. So, long story short, I am probably the only person in the entire history of the Brony community who has ever drawn like this. And trust me, I've tried to find a similar style. But in all seriousness, it's not entirely original. I mean, like I said, it was clearly inspired by rubber hose animations that doesn't use outlines along with a sense of minimalism, literally drawn in MS Paint, and all these other aspects people notice about my art. I guess the best way to say this is by quoting Mr. Enter. Original is not a synonym for interesting. Sometimes I actually was too hard on myself for that. Sometimes with this new art. But it was more often with my older art. Fun fact, I actually reposted a lot of my art from 2014 and 2015 on DA. And yeah, they're still cringy, but they're not bad. Sometimes I was too hard on myself for using MS Paint after 8 freaking years. I legit thought people would hate my art because it was made in MS Paint. So when I thought of that, I basically was like, okay, if you're still going to use MS Paint, how about do something amazing with it? And guess what? I didn't just make one new art style, I made several. The only thing I'm still struggling with that I really want to do is lighting and shading. And I also want to increase productivity. Like, I want to be able to draw more, but without getting exhausted, obviously. Speaking of exhaustion, whenever I did reach creative burnout, that was usually when I was the most harsh on myself. I thought, I don't draw fast enough, or good luck making a comic. And well, I literally just said why these arguments are bullshit. Health comes first. And then there's this one. Artist jealousy. Oh boy, the times I get jealous of other artists or their art style is probably something you've heard 1,000 times before from 1,000 other artists. I could go in depth with this one too, but let's just say it like this. Just because you're as successful as your idol doesn't mean you have to be your idol. And I think that just about debunks that. And then there's the more serious concerns. One thing I'm also afraid of is that when I make art, someone will take it out of context for the worst case scenario. amounting to a misunderstanding. At best. At worst, I'm afraid of outright offending someone with my art, amounting to making them feel outright hurt. And that's obviously not what I'm about. I'm about making people happy. And both of these situations absolutely terrify me, especially if it's among people I respect. But if I've got nothing to hide, then I have nothing to fear, right? Well, no, I do not have anything to hide. But yes, I still do have something to fear. Because both situations have happened to me before. Back in 2019, I tried making a series of art gifts for a few friends in an attempt to reconnect with them. Guess what happened? Some took it out of context for the worst case scenario, and others were outright hurt. What I'm saying is, all someone has to do is accuse me of something and literally everyone will buy it without any fact-checking or without even looking at my intentions or my case. Oh, cancel culture, what have you brought? I'll tell you what you bought. The worst mindset in human history. Now, I know some of this seems exaggerated on some level. I mean, I did end up reconnecting with these friends anyway. In late 2021, I finally came back to them, and now I'm drawing a ton of art for them. It doesn't make me any less nervous about this, though. And like I said, after experiencing that, I have a right to be concerned. To an extent. I mean, everyone is a lot nicer now. No one ever really suspected anything of my art. How exactly do I find a solution to this, though? Well, there is no direct answer, but the best one I can give is I need to stop worrying. In either direction, no matter what situation it is. What I'm saying is that I need to stop listening to my worries and more to the friends I have. Though I still do have some limitations. Going back to Brittney Ackermen, I actually had a ton of art and videos that I planned to make of her and Pinkie-Rose. But because I didn't want her or Pinkie-Rose to feel uncomfortable, these ideas were scrapped. At least for a while. Maybe I'll actually end up doing them some other time. Which leads me into the obvious question. Why Brittney Ackermen? Why is she so important to me in trying to be proud of my own art? Well, these comments are like motivational posters to me. Every time I feel low or have confidence issues, I usually look at these comments. And well, Brittney and Pinkie-Rose, if you two are watching this, consider this video a special thanks to you both. Your words honestly did a lot of help for me, more than you think. Yeah, remember when I said this? That was true. Just thank you both so much for sending me these things and being as kind and sweet as you were. You both inspire me a lot. I wish you both well, and I hope we meet someday. So, pardon me again, but I bought this up for a reason. The point I'm trying to make is these comments of praise and the positive reception are proof that, yes, I can be proud of what I do. And after that conversation I had with Bella, I was reminded of something even more important. Why that praise has a deeper meaning than meets the eye. Sure, I talked about why this praise does mean a lot to me, but it obviously matters even more to the person saying it. You know those people who are so full of themselves and so egotistical that any negative criticism they get doesn't affect them, or any negative comments that they get are immediately dismissed? Well, it is possible to go in the opposite problem. The people who are so down on themselves that any positive criticism they get doesn't affect them, or any positive comments they get are dismissed. So, you're dismissing someone who is saying good things about you. See how mean and awful that sounds when I say it like that? When you are constantly down and depressed and cruel on yourself, and you never acknowledge that things might be okay, not only are you dismissing the people who are trying to get you back up on your feet, which I've already established is terrible, but you are completely blind to your own flaws in the first place. The flaws that got you into this constant state of darkness in the first place. And what's worse, as you dismiss it, you begin to forget how to confront these issues and solve it accordingly. Literally, the only way out in this situation is by listening. Actually listen to what people are saying to you, and more importantly, question why they are saying what they are saying. And yes, in the process of doing that, surround yourself with other people who I know for a fact will have an easier time proving why they said that than you could. Or even better, ask why. Ask the person directly why they said that. And yeah, feel appreciative. And in most cases, it probably won't bother the person on the other end, as I'm sure they will probably think, maybe they're seeking out criticism to make their content better. Or, maybe this person just needs some validation in their life. Or at least, I'm hoping most artists are like this. I'd like to think they wouldn't be immediately hostile. And yes, I do ask why they think my art is excellent. Though I also have to keep in mind that there is a better way of going about asking for this than just saying, really, or seriously. Because if you ask it like that, you come across as not taking your own art seriously. And I don't care if you're not making money off of it. If you are making art, it still technically is a job that still has the potential to be paid for. What I'm saying is that you kinda need to take your art seriously no matter what, if you yourself are serious about making art in the first place. And of course, as the old saying goes, if you don't take your art seriously, then neither will your audience. I mean, it's basically a classic cycle. When I hear all this praise from all sorts of people, I feel validated and I feel the need to create more. Though that isn't my only point of motivation. I have plenty. Sometimes, yes, it's because I made an offer to someone, or it's a gift I think they'll love. But other times, I simply try to make funny things happen. And sometimes, it's because I just want to do something for no particular reason. How my motivation works, though, is the weird part. It seems to have these weird polyphasic stages where I have a large spike of motivation, and then I have none at all for seemingly similar amounts of time. It does fluctuate occasionally. Sometimes I feel motivated for longer periods of time, and sometimes I don't feel as motivated for a longer time. Though, I don't know if I'm really saying anything new. As far as my knowledge goes, I think most artists have this same process. At least, that's what my friends have told me, or outright showed me. As I've said earlier, though, I've had moments where I hope to be more productive and be able to draw more. For instance, I really want to be able to make comics again, even more so with my writing skills taking off. The problem I have, though, is how much needs to be drawn. I feel it would be very intense to make even a single panel. And yeah, if a comic becomes successful, I'm afraid it might get to a point where it gets too demanding. So, dear viewer, I ask you, what is your best way of staying motivated? What is your strategy for drawing efficiently and quickly, while also feeling completely motivated to do so? Seriously, I ask this because I really want to make comics again. So, with how much needs to be drawn in one, how do I make a complete comic story without losing interest or motivation? Well, then again, I do need an idea first. Maybe I'll just start out with, like, short, funny, joke-style single comics. Then I'll do a short story comic that's like 6 pages or something like that. And maybe only then will I create an ongoing comic series. I've actually used this strategy before when it comes to breaking into other creative fields. And yeah, I think that clears up all the relevant points I wanted to make here. Even though there are certain topics I still need to talk about in context. But I just wanted to stay focused for this video. Maybe I'll give this one a part 2.